Hello and welcome to my Game Week 5 preview for Champman FPL. And of course this week we've got a little double game week to look at. How was your Game Week 4? Lots of wins from last week's preview, so hopefully lots of you took something from it that got you some points. Obviously I follow my own data, so it's a good week for me. I was ranked 17 for the game week and up to 52 overall, say after backing my own stats. And I captained Boxic, so really pleased. So long may that continue. Bouncy Castle, I'm not sure if you're a listener or not, but Bouncy Castle, if you're listening, unlucky son. Knocked out of the Shrawn Wright Phillips Cup from Man on FPL by 87 points to 86. Hard lines, but as I said on Twitter, sorry not sorry. Through to the next round. So anyway, as always, I'll be focusing mainly on the specific game week coming up. But if you haven't done so already, do check out the Man on FPL podcast from last week. I joined the guys for a Champman special where we looked a little bit further ahead, talked about the pros and cons of wildcarding in the next week or two. There's a good number of teams with a clutch of home games coming up. And more besides to think about. So do head over to the Man on FPL podcast and check out that Champman special, and indeed any other episode that they put out. The guys post pods every week about fantasy football in general, so do check them out. Anyway, let's crack on, as it looks like a potential corker of a game week, I think. So let's start with Arsenal versus Watford. So 20 sims, no prizes for guessing that Arsenal come out on top, but they've been crap, haven't they? Really, let's face it. So far, they've scored 1 goal in 3 games, 0 points, bottom of the league. But chances are that they're going to finish top 4, so they're going to turn it around eventually. And maybe this is where they start at home to Watford. 2.5 goals a game average. I thought for a minute we were going to get over 3 goals a game average, which really would be unusual. But we hit a little run here that brought the average down a bit. But yeah, it looks really, really good for Arsenal to score at least twice, really. They've got 1, 2, 3, only 4 times out of 20 that they failed to score at least twice. Watford, forget it this week. You'll be lucky to get anything, to be honest. So, Arsenal heavy favourites, as you'd expect. So, in terms of the players then, Thierry Henry. So, we said last week he might get off the mark against Newcastle. Well, he got an assist, so I'll claim that. But yeah, he's due a goal, isn't he? So, this is a great opportunity for him. 16 returns. I think that might be the highest we've seen so far this season. So it looks strong. But yeah, whether you trust him in the long term, whether you've got a transfer to maybe swap him in for a week or whatever, I don't know. That's up to you guys. I just present the data. But if you look at Jeffers and Kanu as well, you need to consider the fact that it will be one or the other of them, won't it? So you can almost maybe kind of merge those two together. Which also looks really good, doesn't it, as a high-scoring game? So, I mean, if you've got strong feelings over who might start out of Jeffers and Kanu, I think Kanu looks to be favoured, doesn't he? But I don't know. Maybe the guys on Sunday night might have a view on that. Who looks like to be Henry's partner going forward? But yeah, it looks good for the front two, whoever that may be. Henry +1, decent for Perez, and then quite low numbers for the rest of the midfield. As I said last week, that don't really trust who'd start anyway. Outside of Henry and Ashley Cole, you're taking your chances a little bit, aren't you? Especially this early on in the season. Okay, so that's Arsenal Watford. Looks like a comfortable win for Arsenal. Derby Charlton. So this looks like potentially a fun game. Both averaging over a goal a game. Derby pushing 2 goals a game. For a team like Derby, that's pretty good. They've got 3 there, a 4, another 4, a few 3s. So their average is brought down by a few nils and a couple of ones, but as I touched on last week, I think if you think about ceilings rather than averages, they've got a reasonable chance of scoring 3 or 4 times, haven't they? 12 wins out of 20. Fancy both teams to score. Don't count on clean sheets. Not that you would with Derby or Charlton defenders, really. Looks like potentially a decent game, this one. Jason Ewell came out on top, so he was consistently Charlton's returner, really, along with Bartlett. Whereas for Derby, again, as we've spoken about before, they've got 4 guys that consistently chip in for them. It looks like Ewell scored last week, didn't he? So potentially another good week for Jason Ewell. Bartlett up with him also looks strong. And then Christie, I think this is the first week that Christie has outscored Ravanelli and my Sims, but both of them look reasonably strong. You know about the midfield, Burley, Valakari. I've got to hold my hands up. I haven't re-simmed the game with Derby's 2 new transfers. So, I mean, I'll leave it up to you whether you think that makes a massive difference to this. I'd say it probably doesn't. But just to be upfront about that, this doesn't include Derby's new signings. But I will re-sim the game for next week with those in, and there's a few other things I need to do. I need to unbreak Danny Tiato's spine, or whatever horrific thing it was I did to him, because I think he'll be back soon. We'll be re-simming the game with Derby's new players, and people like Tiato and other people that were injured will be back next week as well. Depending on what news we get from the stream on Sunday night. Okay, so that's Derby Charlton. Yeah, we don't want the double yet, so Leeds Borough. So looks good for Leeds. Over 2 goals a game average, 13 wins out of 20. 6 clean sheets out of 10, not bad, but not brilliant. Again, looks like another good game. So Borough will come and give themselves half a chance. I mean, they're less than a goal a game. They will set up defensively. Leeds will attack it. It looks good for Leeds. I think if you had Leeds assets last week, I know I said last week Leeds looked good for the win away to Ipswich more than the previous week against Sunderland. So they'll play this home game the same way they did against Ipswich. And they did score a few goals, didn't they? I think you were unlucky with Leeds if you had Leeds assets in game week 4. All their returns just came from nobodies, didn't they? Which is just a bit unfortunate, really. Don't think too many people have got the likes of Decor and Singh and Bakker, I think, wasn't it, got one as well. So, yeah, just one of those things, a bit unlucky. But maybe this week the returns can come from their main men. So on to the player stats. Viduka really strong this week. 18. Well, I said Henri with 16 was the highest we've seen so far. So Viduka beats that, doesn't he? Seems to like this game. Ian Hart really strong as well. If you trust him to play. Smith and Keane, again, as I said last week, it just depends who plays up front for Leeds. Robbie Keane, it looks like Robbie Keane's getting the nod more often than not, doesn't it? So maybe good for him as well. And as I say, in the last week, just unlucky that the main men didn't return. Bowyer up there again. He's due, isn't he? He's on here every week. I'm sure he'll get something soon. But yeah, Viduka hasn't scored yet this season, has he? So again, definitely due. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets off the mark this week. That's Leeds Borough. Leicester Newcastle. So fairly tight. Neither of them getting anywhere near 2 goals a game, but having said that, both teams to score looks strong. Newcastle slightly favouring it, so Leicester haven't scored more than twice at all whereas Newcastle have hit 4 there and they've hit 3 a couple of times. You know, when you've got the likes of Shearer, Hughes, Dyer, you know, that can happen. They've got star quality that can create those kind of results. But Leicester pretty consistent, scored in 16 games out of 20, so that's not bad. Starmen then, so Shearer, top of the pile for Newcastle. Muzzy was the pick for Leicester. Fairly consistent ones, either a goal or assist. Robert and Hughes. So yeah, I think, you know, judging by the actual game, that's pretty much what you'd expect to see, isn't it? And the sim data bears that out for this fixture. Man City Bolton. Goals, Man City. Yeah, they hit no 5s this week, but we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times they've hit 4, and another 3 times they've hit 3. So 7 times out of 20 they've scored at least 3. So yeah, like in this one, Bolton only kept 1 clean sheet. Still averaging over a goal a game themselves, but that does include a few 3s. So as we've said before, Man City are a bit of a crazy team. So Bolton could come and score a few goals, but Man City look good to win the game, don't they? I know a lot of people have got double Bolton defence, haven't they? So me included, I've got Jääskeläinen and Cooper. So I think I'll probably be wildcarding anyway. But if you're like me and you've got double Bolton defence, yeah, I wouldn't rely on that this week. Maybe give your second keeper a go. Yeah, Bolton double defence doesn't look pretty this week. Man City, as always, look good to score some goals. Player stats, Gary Flitcroft. Loving life in this fixture. Enjoyed his afternoon against Tim Sherwood immensely, again and again and again. So, I mean, I don't know how many people would transfer him in based on that, but it's one to look out for, isn't it? Huckabee and One-Shop evenly matched, although all of One-Shop's returns were goals, so in terms of fantasy points, that's more favourable, isn't it, than goals and assists combined. Svensson's been really unlucky so far this season. We've seen on the Sunday night streams that he's getting plenty of shots away. So if that continues, it's only a matter of time before he starts hitting the net. Wallace and Pedersen, again, fairly evenly matched, but again, similar with One-Shop and Huckabee. Pedersen is the goal man, whereas Wallace will chip in with assists as well. So that's Man City Bolton. Millwall Ipswich, blockbuster fixture. Pretty evenly matched. Ipswich won more often than not, but in terms of the likelihood of a goal, which is what we're interested in for fantasy, fairly even. Ipswich just shading it. Millwall kept a couple more clean sheets. Yeah, so it's two fairly evenly matched teams. Ipswich are a bit better, but then they're away from home, and we all know what that means. So, you know, those two things combined mean that it's pretty even overall. Yeah, probably not a fixture to target really. Player stats, Marcus Stewart, pretty good. I mean, Pablo's looked good for Ipswich so far, but you'd expect really Stewart over the course of the season to probably be the main man. So the sim data bearing that out there. Savarese again, he's had a really good start to the season, hasn't he? goals, assists, and so again he's at home in a game where Millwall could get something, so he's a reasonable pick this week. Tarico, I like Tarico as a pick. He's narrowly missed out on these lists the last couple of weeks, so I thought it was only a matter of time before he sneaks on here, and here he is this week. Definitely an attacking threat. And then, if Ipswich do manage a clean sheet, that's a bonus as well. Low numbers other than that. Okay, Sunderland, Chelsea. Come to Sunderland. So, another one that looks like potentially a bit of a ding-dong battle, this one. So Sunderland will set up attacking in this game, even though it's Chelsea coming. They're a reasonably repped team and they're at home, so they will attack this game. And it's a bit like the Villa-Chelsea fixture we looked at earlier, where I said, Villa could definitely score some goals, even though Chelsea are coming to town. So it's a similar story here. Sunderland are more than capable of scoring goals against Chelsea at home, because they will set up to attack the game. And then Chelsea themselves, they're just a good team, so of course they can come away and score goals as well. So all that together means we've got a potentially great game. So Sunderland pushing 2 goals a game average, Chelsea not a million miles behind them. Wins, again, it's fairly close. Both got 4 clean sheets out of 20. So don't really ask me who's going to win this game. I'm not sure, but we're interested in fantasy points, aren't we? And this is a game where we could definitely see some goals. Player stats. So Kevin Phillips, Super Kev, like this one. Again, all his returns were goals. Gary Teal, not a million miles behind, but again, he's split between goals and assists. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, it would be lovely if he played every week, but you just can't rely on it. So, again, he's on the list, but probably don't trust it. Medina, this was kind of interesting. Medina and Schwartz, I don't think either of them have been anywhere near getting on this list previously, really. But yeah, Sunderland's central midfield seemed to like it in this game. And Arca, no surprise to see him here, really, is it? Chelsea, I suppose the thing to take from this is Chelsea returns, as we've spoken about in previous weeks, really spread out amongst their midfielders. Villa, Everton. So Villa look good for this one. Again, pushing 2 goals a game. So again, potential here, 14 wins out of 20, really strong. Everton, almost a goal a game, so not a million miles away. But there's a lot of nils though. It looks like they're either not going to score at all, or they'll score a couple, depending on sort of how Villa get on, I guess, maybe. A really strange result, which can happen in CM, a 5-0 there. Those things happen from time to time, kind of without explanation, really. But yeah, Villa look good, won't dwell on it too much because we're focused on the game week. But Villa have got a lot of home games in a row coming up. If you are interested in wildcarding, maybe have a look at that. Someone like Hendry or Angel or Balaban might be a useful person to have around coming up. Player stats, not big numbers from anyone really, but it's kind of a case of Villa are one of those teams where if you're running 20 sims, you'll get different lineups from them. So this is one. This is one where you've got to think about the actual game we're playing and what you think Villa's lineup will be. it looks good for Balaban and Angel up front, doesn't it? We've got Steve Stone has stayed at the club and looks to be their first pick. In loads of my sims, in season 2, Steve Stone leaves more often than not, so I'm quite surprised that he's stayed. But yeah, as I say, it's one of those things to consider. When you sim the game 20 times, Villa's lineup will change and change and change. So you kind of have to just focus in on the actual game we're playing for Villa and think about, okay, what is their lineup? And if they look good for goals in a game, which they do for this one, what does that mean for who we target? It's difficult to pick out individuals from the sim data because their lineups are so unreliable. Okay, so on to the double then. So I think what we'll do is we'll look at the 20 sims for the different fixtures individually, so we can look at the clean sheet potential, and then we'll look at the player stats for the two fixtures combined. I think that makes sense because you've either got the players for both games or not at all, haven't you? And we look at returns. So yeah, if we look at these 20 sims for the clean sheet potential, and then in terms of attacking returns, we'll look at it mashed together. So Blackburn, Liverpool, when they're up against each other, Blackburn came out slightly on top. Reasonable clean sheet chance. Liverpool quite a low clean sheet chance. Away to Blackburn, not looking like it's a high scoring game. Both sort of around 1 goal a game. Blackburn had a sort of odd 4-0 here, so if you take that away, they're both kind of pretty much averaging a goal a game. So yeah, it's a difficult one to call, and Blackburn's formations, I couldn't pin it down. Again, I don't know if the guys on Sunday night might have a stronger opinion on this, but even though it's the same fixture, when I clicked into the Sims, Blackburn just played a range of different formations. So I know that can happen with Souness, but I didn't expect it to happen so much for the same game again and again. Even for the same fixture, I couldn't tell you what formation they're going to play, to be honest. But again, maybe the guys on Sunday night will have a stronger view on it. Maybe it's just something I'm not seeing a pattern for. So that's the Blackburn Liverpool 20 sims. Blackburn Man United. Again, a low scoring game. So Blackburn are a decent team. So Liverpool and Man United going there. They're two good teams, but they are going away, and Blackburn are pretty good themselves. So I guess it kind of makes sense that it'd be a tight game. So again, pretty low scoring. United not a bad clean sheet percent chance, but not scoring many goals. They've hit 4 there and 3 there. I mean, again, it's Man United, so of course they're capable of doing that. But statistically, it looks like the chances are that it might be low scoring for Man United again this week. So it is a tough away game for them, so it makes sense to me. And then Liverpool Spurs. So Liverpool strong at home again. We know Spurs can't defend, so Liverpool pushing 2 goals a game. But Spurs do have good attacking players, so they've made a bit more of a fist of it than other teams we've seen go to Anfield. They've got a 3 there, and another few ones where I say they've made a bit more of a fist of it. Apart from that 3-2, they haven't really, have they? But yeah, Liverpool is again typical Liverpool sort of home result, really. Slightly less chance of a clean sheet than we've seen in previous weeks, but not much. So yeah, Liverpool clean sheets over in the double game week. I think 1 out of 2. I think 2 out of 2 is not really on the cards, but maybe 1 out of 2. So the player stats for the two combined. Michael Owen came out on top, so I think he will be back fit. Judging by what we saw last week, he was orange. Was he orange flagged, or he was the right number of days away to be back for the double, I think. So again, one to look out for on the Sunday night stream. But I think Owen will be back, and over. This is over 2 games, so this is over 40 sims basically. But as I say, you've either got the player or you haven't, so I think it makes sense to look at it like that. So Owen out on top. Ben, I know a lot of people are thinking about Matt Jansen, but Blackburn did play 2 up front in a fair amount, so they did chop and change a lot, but they did play 2 up front, a reasonable amount, and so Bent and Jansen together, and Bent came out on top. But again, I don't know if it's one for the sim we're playing. We know Jansen's the main man for Blackburn, maybe. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys with all the other information that's out there to draw that conclusion for yourself. Solano and Tugai for Blackburn from midfield, and then fairly low numbers from Liverpool's midfield, but they chop and change. So that the returns get spread out because they don't line up consistently. Okay, so that's that. So the picks of the week. So despite it being a double game week, Viduka with his single game came out on top. Owen with a potential double if he plays both games in second place. Henry at home to Watford. You'd expect it, wouldn't you? Even though we haven't seen it so far, but form isn't a thing in Championship Manager. It's not that sophisticated. It's not going to look at Arsenal and say they're in poor form. It's just going to look at the matchup between Arsenal and Watford and generate a result on that basis. So there's no reason why Arsenal can't turn Watford over quite heavily at home. So Flitcroft enjoyed his afternoon against Bolton, and then we've got 7 this week because there's no splitting Shearer, Phillips, and Yule. So that's it. That's the Game Week 5 preview. Good luck with it. As always, do stay in touch with the mainstream on Sunday night. Get the latest injury news, transfer news, countless other nuggets of really useful information. As I say, they might give you, they might have stronger opinions than I've managed to garner on formations for Blackburn, or potential lineups. Looking at the actual sim we're playing. So combine that with this, gives us half a chance, I think. I think that's it. FPL Glasto, I'm not sure if you're a listener, but if you are, here's to a good matchup in the Shaun Wright Phillips Cup this week. It's a shame 2 fellow Glastonbury lovers have to face off so early, but there we go. Good luck, mate. CM Fantasy versus FPL Glasto. We'll see how we go. Okay, cheers everyone. Good luck with the game week, and see you next week.